At the time this video is released, Godzilla vs. Kong releases tomorrow. As a longtime Godzilla fan, I cannot wait for the movie to drop. I've watched nearly every movie so far and they've been good. For the most part. However, in the recent year, I've been playing a particular game on my PlayStation 4. Godzilla for the PS4 is a game that exists. After having explored through all the modes in full depth and experienced all the game truly has to offer, I can make the assessment that this game sucks. Like, really sucks. From a gamer's perspective, it's a burning hot pile of garbage, but I keep playing it due to its surprisingly addictive nature and the idea of this being currently the best Godzilla game. As for why it sucks, I'm going to explain why, but we need to first actually understand the game. Simply titled Godzilla, the game was a Japanese exclusive release on the PlayStation 3 that dropped on December 18th of 2014. It never reached outside of Japan unless you somehow finagled it to get it across seas, most likely through a shipping service. Even then, the game was entirely in Japanese and has severe lack of content. Then, an upgraded version of the game was released called Godzilla vs. that made an actual international release in July of 2015. It was on limited distribution, though, so there weren't that many copies of the game released outside Japan. With a combination of its limited release and the poor score many critics gave it, you can easily understand why the game didn't become successful, and why Bandai Namco never touched the game again. As for why the game got such poor reviews all around, including my own verdict, we need to look at the game itself to understand why it falls apart at every complaint that most gamers tend to give about games nowadays. But just because I'm saying the game sucks doesn't mean it doesn't have excuses or why it is this way, or redeemable qualities for fans of the series. First of all, why the game has so many problems? The answer? A limited budget. When you take a look at the game's graphics and the amount of bugs in the game, it easily shows that there wasn't a huge investment of money. This is overall confusing, especially since the release of 2014. In 2013, starting with Pacific Rim and followed by Godzilla 2014, we've entered a sort of kaiju renaissance. Considering the hype and success surrounding these films, it's confusing as to why Bandai did not put as much effort into the project as they did. I guess people will buy it because of the trend and then get half-assed products, since said trend would help guarantee good sales. But in this day and age, the word of critics have affected us more than ever, and ultimately not putting forth complete games is going to warrant bad reviews and negative reception. Now, there are some redeeming qualities to the game. Those who developed it were clearly fans of the franchise and incorporated so many references and Easter eggs from the movies into the game. Many Godzilla fans will be able to point them out. For the most part, this is cool, but gameplay and functionality needs to come first. What seems to be the purpose of the game was to grab fans and people who watched 2014 into playing the game. As a result, it's a good Godzilla game for Godzilla fans, but a bad game for gaming fans. The oversaturation of Easter eggs and references from the franchise will most likely only be appealing to fans who would understand these sorts of things. Now we will get into the actual game itself. Every gamer nowadays complains about the games in one way or another. However, having played the game as much as I have, I can very well tell you that this game fails in every aspect of game design. It's in the title. It's repetitive, unbalanced, buggy, slow, and has a toxic fan base as a result of these problems. Each game mode has its own problems, and we are going to explore each individual mode in depth. Let's get the non-gameplay modes out of the way. Evolution mode is where you evolve your kaiju from parts that you get from defeating them in campaign mode, or God Destruction, or via the time trial King of Kaiju mode. It is here where the game's problem of imbalance comes from, but we'll come back to this later, since it's more relevant later down the line. Diorama mode and the Kaiju guide are pretty much just side things to enjoy, just little neat extras. The diorama mode simply allows you to mess around with models and make cool looking shots with kaiju figures, but that's about it. The Kaiju guide isn't an in-game bestiary like you might think it is. It's another thing that caters to fans, where it gives descriptions of every notable monster from throughout the films and gives little fun facts and statistics about them as well. Enjoyable to read, but has absolutely zero impact on actual gameplay. With that being said, now we can jump into the bad stuff. Yay. God of Destruction mode acts as the game's main campaign. You'll be spending the majority of your playing time playing the campaign mode, over, and over, and over. In this mode, you'll select Godzilla or different kaiju that you can unlock through this mode, and go on a rampage through the city and destroy everything in sight, with the exception of defend mode. The objective of each level is to destroy the generator, or generators, and defeat any monster that appears. And that's literally about it. There's nothing to it. I know people don't really like playing story modes in games anymore, but the fact is required to play through the God of Destruction mode in order to succeed in Fighting Versus mode. It feels like you could have just added a bit of substance. It feels like I'm going to work where I do the same thing every day and get rewarded for something so shallow and repetitive. One upside to this mode is the feeling of blowing through buildings as a giant monster, and you really feel that in this game. Perhaps if there was something to shake up each level, and if monsters could move faster, the game would be at least a little more tolerable. Dear speedrunners, this is the game mode for you. This is a time trial where you have to defeat 6 monsters in as fast as possible. That's the basic gist. I could just leave it at that if it weren't for everyone using Mecha King Ghidorah. Looking on the leaderboard, you can see that every top scorer uses the kaiju known as Mecha King Ghidorah, one of the most overpowered characters in the game. Players can utilize the beams and flying attacks to get times under 3 minutes, where most kaiju in the game would get an average of 7 to 10 minutes. The meta for speedrunners in utilizing exclusively one character is like a melee fox situation, where the majority of the roster is unviable except for 1 or 2 characters. In fact, this is the problem with by far the most sad game mode in the game. Here we go. Every game nowadays has some sort of PvP multiplayer mode, and Godzilla Vs is no exception. There are over 20 characters you can play as in this mode, but when actually playing online it feels like you're only playing 6. The balance of the game is so skewed towards characters that were actually overpowered in their films. This would have been fine as a mechanic that remained in God of Destruction, but no. Each top tier character has some sort of gimmick or move that allows them to pretty much have what is close to a 100% win rate. I mentioned Mecha King Ghidorah earlier, who is widely considered a top tier character. His ability as a zoner allows him to fight from across the stage, and each individual beam just hurts. It also has the ability to grab players that get too close, and repeat the process of beaming. Destroyer is essentially the king of melee combat with strong physical prowess and being the only solid counter to Heisei Godzilla. Godzilla 2014 has a bug where he gains large amounts of temperature whenever he's hit by a beam or emergency dodge. Temperature is a mechanic where you only have so many gauges that can be consumed when using an energy-based ability, such as beams. 2014 essentially gets infinite usage of temperature consumption, which makes it a true rival to Destroyer's sheer physical dominance. There are a few other annoying characters too, but they are relatively easy to beat when you know how to abuse their weaknesses. Biollante can spam her charge attack, but gets screwed by projectile and beam attacks. Kiryu is somewhat of a mixed bag, but still relatively strong. Essentially every other character in the game doesn't have a gimmick or move that is an insta-win, like many of the others I just mentioned. But if there is one character I have to bring up potentially, he is the most powerful character in the game, and I believe you all know who it is. In this game, Godzilla retains his title as the King of the Monsters, but for the wrong reasons. Remember when I mentioned the melee fox problem earlier with Mecha King? Well, apply that to Heisei Godzilla for this game mode. I'm surprised how Godzilla is honestly the strongest character in his own game. But there are reasons for this. For one, he has the most broken ability in the game, the 180 turn. Godzilla has an ability where he can instantly turn 180 degrees in one direction. He's able to unlock this ability in evolution mode, which may I inform you that Heisei Godzilla and his clones have their own upgrade tree for unique moves that no other kaiju has? Now, this might not seem too big of a deal at first since it's just a movement option, but considering the roar mechanic, roaring in this game gives you pure invincibility and armor for the duration of the roar. Certain monsters have a longer roar with longer startups, and vice versa. However, Godzilla has a long roaring time and a short startup, allowing you to absolutely abuse invincibility in certain situations. His emergency dodge is also extremely powerful since it's an AoE that knocks back opponents relatively far. As a result of Godzilla's strengths, nearly 75% of fights will have a Heisei Godzilla in it. Oh, don't even get me started on Burn McGee. Burning Godzilla's Heisei with only slightly weaker knockback in exchange from having the most powerful beam in the entire game. A lot of burning players will just stand back and spam beams repeatedly until you're dead, which shouldn't honestly take that long considering the damage. Oh, I must not forget the absolutely stupid design of the online multiplayer itself. While there is a 1v1 mode, most people hop onto the 3-player mode. It is a free-for-all that most often results in either toxic teamers who teabag people they couldn't even kill by themselves, or stand back camping, waiting for their moment to strike. You have a very low chance of winning a 3-player match, especially since if you're getting teamed up on, or you're about to get assassinated and you're low health. I mean, you could always just rage quit, right? No, you can't. Doesn't every game have some sort of punishment that prevents players from leaving? Or when they do leave, it has some sort of penalty? Haha, good one. You can leave by exiting the game, and you can start up the game again, which should take less than 30 seconds. As a result, most people tend to just exit the game when they're about to lose, meaning you don't get a win. There are just too many problems with this single game mode alone. Like I said earlier, this game is significantly better when enjoyed as a Godzilla fan, not a gamer. There's too many problems with the mechanics in every game mode, and the combination of focusing too much on fan content as well as a limited budget significantly dragged the game down. All in all, I would give this game a rating of 1 out of 5 stars, maybe 2 stars for Godzilla fans, since there is a lot to enjoy in that regard. Alright, thank you everyone for watching through the video. I know this is a very different video format since the majority of my videos are music videos, just piano covers, but this was really fun to make, even if it was covering some sort of topic that I didn't really enjoy. I enjoy the game in some parts, but for the most part it's not good. I only really enjoyed it as a Godzilla fan. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd recommend that you like, subscribe, and hit that bell, as well as potentially share it to some of your friends. And I'll see you next video, I guess.